talk to me a little bit about Agent Recon. It is a sequel, right, to Agent Revelation.
That is correct. It is self-contained. Agent Recon and other people told me this. They've watched it, and you can totally watch this without having seen the previous. My vision was like the movie Aliens with Jim Cameron, in that you could step right into this world, know exactly what's going on, and understand the characters, and then hey, let's quickly go on this mission because we're in for some trouble.
Are you a huge fan of sci-fi?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think Nolan's at the top of the game, obviously. He's one of my favorites. But give me Stargate. They give me like Predator, by the way, is one of my favorite movies too. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
Don McTiernan, Die Hard. Geez, I mean, the great ones, they straddle different genres, and I think that's what Agent Recon is. That's what I'm working towards as a filmmaker, is telling that story of a character fighting for his life and wanting to do good. And in this world, there's some crazy stuff going on.
Well,
You almost caught me. You almost got me.
it's okay. I mean,
I almost
but I got the feeling like I'm going back to the 1980s action sci-fi films, and of course, the question is, how did you get Chuck Norris? Because he rarely does things anymore.
hmm. Yeah, well, by the way, I hope that's in a good way, going back to the 80s and 90s. But
Yeah, it
let me give you some
was.
references. One of the things that I told my crew was, I'm a fan of Jim Cameron. When you see the Terminator for the first time, right?
Hmm.
You don't know he's a robot. I mean, today now you do, but when this came out in the 80s, you didn't know that. And where does that come from? It's building this tension in the story. So I feel like a lot of times, um, we're spoon feeding the information because people think that people need to know exactly what's going on at this exact at every moment of the movie. And if you don't, you're going to lose their attention, and they're going to switch to something else because there's so much stuff out there. Um,
Yeah,
so
it seems to me
this was
like.
something I was trying to accomplish on a small level, with our budget. Um, but yeah, Chuck Norris. I mean, I hope families. I hope there's a dad or a mom who's like, I grew up on Chuck Norris, and I can watch this with my kid in a way. Like maybe they got to be like around 10 or 11, at least. But this is not like so adult that you can't. And I think that's something that I miss because that's how I grew up. That's why I became a filmmaker, because I watched movies with my dad, and we rented VHS tapes and had 10 of them, 10, 15 tapes, and we're rewinding by the time, Monday comes around. You just don't want to pay that late fee on each tape, because it adds up, right? So, you know, but that was a part of my childhood, and it was, I didn't realize how precious it was.
Well, I was going to
And
say
that's
it is a compliment to go back to the 80s because that feel is kind of gone. And as you say, audiences kind of have the attention now of a mayfly, and everything, instead of doing the long arc, you have to kind of do arcs and arcs and arcs and, to keep their attention. But, the film has got some great twists in it. Mark Singer does a great job in this. I haven't seen Mark in a while, and again in the '80s he was a huge star, and so you've got a great cast in this. But you as a director, how does that feel in directing somebody like Chuck Norris?
By the way, Mark is amazing to work with, and I was always a fan. And when I wanted to fill the role of Colonel Green, I really just went to him, and he loved the script so much that, like, that night he said yes.
Hmm.
And then we were just talking about, like, how many days, and who would it, how is it going to be? Because he didn't know who I was. But we had the best time, and um, we become friends. in a very short amount of time. And I think the collaboration was there, and I got so many just tips on and education on how to lead, not just from an actor standpoint, but as a director standpoint. So um, I think directing Chuck Norris is actually pretty easy. He's well prepared. He's fun. He said to me, "Whatever you want, Derek.
Mm.
Whatever you want." You know. But already, like on the first take, it's like I was like, "Oh man, you know, I kind of want this to go longer just because it's with you, you know." But the first take is like perfect. I don't think it'll get any better. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Do a second take, but I don't really have any notes, and even if it's bad, I'll just have it for coverage. So, and that's the thing though, like I think uh because the script was solid, like he had a clear vision of the character that he wanted to portray. And what they did was they just came in and elevated the things that, you know, the parts that he was in. For example, like Dakota Norris did his choreography for his action. Um, and so, and they recommended, um, you know, his team so that I would succeed. And so that's what you want, is like putting yourself in a position where you're going to succeed, and they give you whatever you need, whatever you want, so long as you are not taking advantage of um, the blessing and the opportunity that they're giving you. Because honestly, like, I mean, for him to leave the ranch and come to California to film with me was a big deal and is a big deal. So I'm just grateful.
Wow.
Um, and yeah,
What do you think audiences are going to take away from watching Agent Recon?
there's a great, Mark Singer has a great role in this. Is a great family role. At the end of the day, we had a conversation about this. This is um, you you know, my character is the lead, and but he's really the story. His character is the story. Um, and I think that's I don't want to spoil it. We'll just leave it at that. I love what he does in the story. And yeah, I mean, there's a very simple message. And it's about heroes, you know. It's about what it means to be a hero. And I think often we place a lot of value on the wrong types, you know, and that I don't want to give that away either, but about the movie, but I think it's like the people who, you know, by the way, so 9/11 was one of the reasons why I wanted to become an actor, because I wanted to pursue my passion. And I think about the people who were worried and didn't know what to do, but then I think about the people who went straight for the building. You know,
Yeah.
they just went. That to me, I mean, and they come in all different forms. They come in all different types. And people have this perception that a hero has big muscles and that, you know, they're just ready to go and they do everything right. No, it's not that case. Because Jim's character, my character, is somebody who he's terrible at a lot of things. He's not, by the way, he's Asian, but he's not good at math, you know? So um and he's led his life has always been like that. And then he comes to this organization and he gets these powers, and then suddenly it's like, okay, what do I do with these powers and stuff like that. And he doesn't want to necessarily use those selfishly, um, but he just doesn't think he's good enough. He doesn't deserve it. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, you know, a lot of people out there, they don't realize how important they are.
Yeah. Will we see Jim again in maybe another movie?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's thought out. It's ready. It's just in what, you know, what form. I talk about this because Mr. Norris, we're in the trailer. I'm hanging out with his Mrs. Norris as well. They're all fantastic. Um, and you know, Chuck's like, you should do a TV series, Derek.
I was
TV
just going to
series.
suggest that. Yeah.
So I'm manifesting it, but it wasn't me who said it. One of my greatest supporters who said that to me said that somebody else is gonna say it. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. If it's what's right for the next part, then we'll see. I'll take every opportunity to tell um, great stories.
Derek, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Someday we'll talk a little bit longer and get into this in depth. But congratulations again on Agent Recon and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate talking to you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for watching the movie.
Yeah.
You are more than welcome to reach out to me on my socials, and I'd love to have a longer conversation. So great questions. Thank you.
You take care and have a great day.
All right, awesome. You too.
Bye bye.